Okay, I do apologize again for the part 4 sound being off this morning. I thought everything was cool now it's uploaded, but nonetheless, let's continue. So after we left off in part 3, that's when the engagement happened. So I'm gonna jump around some time events because again, it's a lot in detail, which will be more in the book versus during these mini series. So let's fast forward 2 years. So now I'm moving to the marital home with my fiance and his mother, and still feeling kind of iffy, kind of weird about the whole situation because it's a lot to take in, especially being in a new environment. Even though I stayed over there a couple of times, it's in between. I'll tell you about that more later, but in between, it's still kind of weird. But nonetheless, still everything's still good, still happy, still thriving as a new engaged couple. We finally tied the knot at the end of 2015 when the whole new administration was taken over. So we wanted to make sure we can still get legally married under the current Obama administration versus the who upcoming administration next year. So we had a friend who was an ordained minister marry us at his place. I went the next week to the courthouse, filed the paperwork, and had everything set in place. Now we legally married it. All the good stuff is on record. And then of course that information come in handy later on. So just keep that in mind. So we were legally married, and we decided to do a formal ceremony in 2017 where we had a nice all-inclusive dining hall. So we had the marriage ceremony as well as the reception all in one place. So the table that our guests were sitting down, that's where they were having the reception. So we paid for the food, all the food, drinks. I think we had open bar. No, either open bar or cash bar. One, I think it was 1 to 2. So it was a good thing, even though I didn't care for the tuts and stuff because I'm not a tuts person by heart. But I'll sake of argument, I just want to make sure everything's good. We have a cool time. People enjoyed it. Blah, blah, blah. As we fast forward again, 2018, we were celebrating our first year, technically the second year, but first year to recognize the marriage ceremony. So we decided to go to, Pride in the Park. So this is around October. So this is the second Pride event, we have here in Atlanta. So we met up, so we went down there, met up with some friends, had a good time, all the venues, walk around, talk, drink, all the good stuff, just really celebrating our community. We saw another couple who was there at the time, and we decided all to go out to dinner that evening. So we met up, went out to dinner at Wolves, the original Wolves. Those who know, that was on Piedmont at the time. And, had a good time, had several drinks, good food, good conversation. But I don't know what prompted my husband after we left. We formally left the restaurant and we was heading to, go to our separate places. Because at the time, that weekend, we decided to do a hotel stay. So we got a hotel room for the weekend, and that's what we plan on doing. So at the end of the dinner, we departed from each other. Then I got back in his car, and then on the way back to the hotel, I don't know what prompted him to get very hostile. And the reason why he got hostile is because he felt like I disrespected him by leaving with the other couple. Because my intention, I thought he was walking behind me. He was still paying, signing his receipt and everything. So I guess got up and left. Just trying to catch up with them and see what they got going on. It was nothing disrespectful, at least in my opinion. But he made a whole federal case on it. So, we were in the car. Well, yeah, going at it. But of course, I kept my cool and composure. But it just, I don't know what caused him to act in that demeanor, but it happened. Okay, so after that, You know, came at the hotel. You know, I was very hot. I was like keeping my distance. I didn't want to do anything else. So I was, you know, a little separated because I didn't understand what happened, why he went so ballistic in that nature. But nonetheless, you know, we came home for the weekend, had a good time. Besides that incident, but needless to say, more things came along, especially in 2019. For those who know, the Super Bowl was here. I had opportunity to perform during the halftime show. He didn't really agree to the idea because that previous year I just started working in another temp to full-time role. And once I got hired on as full-time, he said, oh, and the opportunity came up. That's when he got zoned out again. He didn't agree to me taking the time off to perform. He think it was just a waste of time. And at the time, we wasn't getting paid for the gig. But now but of course circumstances changed, and later on we found out we were. But he was still against it, thinking and then at the same time, my practice week, he was going out of time for his job, for training. And he kept insinuating, oh, you plan on meeting somebody I know, blah, blah, blah. You know, all the stuff he was gaslighting that I was planning on doing. I was living for the opportunity because, again, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that you actually can perform at a event that is worldwide. You know, that's something that don't come by people's desks every day. You know, that's like a once-in-a-lifetime event. So I was at the point where I was going to debate whether I should go or not, because I don't want to argue with you about this. I think like opportunities like this come along, you should be happy for your spouse and be, you know, grateful and say, okay, yeah, my spouse is gonna be on TV. I'm gonna tell spreading news, you know, something like that. Don't come across as often. But I was in that breaking point where I was just forget it. I don't even want to go through it. But I just did decide that I was going to do it without his blessing, because I'm not ruining this opportunity. Or in the words of, I got her name on Drag Race, I'm not going to squabble with this opportunity. But there's more to come. Thank you so much for you guys for understanding that the part 4 was lost without words, but I'm glad we were able to upload this and add a little more extra to the story. Alright, talk to you guys later. Bye.